let me tell you the tale of the Xbox Kinect. A peripheral for the Xbox 360 that launched in late 2010 across the world. This thing had a couple of decent games, it had a lot of bad games, and it also had some that were just And in March 2012, the world got introduced to Kinect Rush, a Disney Pixar Adventure. A kids adventure game that takes you through different Pixar worlds, all controlled with your body and a lot of exercise. It launched to pretty mixed reviews and eventually, along with the Kinect, kinda just faded into obscurity. Now if we fast forward to 2017, Microsoft pulled up to Gamescom and just announced, oh yeah, by the way, we're remastering this for Xbox One and PCs, and you don't even have to move anymore, you can just play it with a controller, and the whole world was kind of like, oh yeah! Rush, a Pixar adventure, I remember that game. This version of the game would support 4K resolution, high dynamic range visuals, and it would have normal controls as well as Kinect for Xbox One, and also added a whole new level on Finding Dory. Anyway, because I couldn't be asked to do any exercise today, the remastered version of this game is the version that we are looking at today. Now, before I go any further into the worlds of Rush, if you enjoy tie-in games, Disney, nostalgia, any of that kind of stuff, now is the perfect chance for you to subscribe to a channel that has all that. So please hit that subscribe button, tap the bell for notifications, and we'll continue on with the video. So I will break this video up into 6 sections, which is the 6 worlds that this game has in it. And each level, except Finding Dory, has 3 levels, with Dory only having 2. So to begin with, I have to say this is just such a strange premise. You get dropped off at a Pixar park, where there's other kids that love Pixar as well, and then you just initiate a play session with them, and then it just transitions into the world. But this Pixar park is just such a strange premise because it's not like a theme park or anything, it's just a big field with some stuff that kind of resembles the films they're from. There's nothing actually there, it's just you get dropped off at a field, and that's it. Okay, so of course to start with, I went with Cars.
Chance want to play Cars, would you?
So the first level is called Fancy Driving, and this one is with Mater, who is of course once again voiced by Larry the Cable Guy. Mater has set out a track for you around Radiator Springs and its surrounding areas, and I've got to say, the driving in this game feels really smooth, the handling is quite nice. It isn't really complicated because you just turn and it kind of drifts for you anyway. You literally only need to turn and accelerate. That's all there really is to it. Throughout all of the worlds, there are coins you collect which add to your score, and then based on how you do in each level, you will get a bronze, silver, or gold ranking. As you get more points, the more stuff you will unlock to access more areas in each level, which adds to the replayability of the game. Anyway, so you drive through Mater's course as your own car, and at the end, Mater congratulates you, Lightning's there, and then Holly Schiffwell turns up and tells you that you're now a spy, of course. Which leads us nicely into the next level, which is Bomb Squad, which you are driving with Holly. Now this time Francesco has a bomb attached to him, so you are chasing him down to stop him from exploding. That's it, you just drive again, a lot of the stuff just kind of happens to you and stuff is breaking around you. It's all very cool set pieces, but like at the end of the day, you are just barely driving around and you don't really have much control in the situation. However, as I say, the set pieces are really cool, and for the most part, the world actually looks quite good. There are some really weirdly low-res textures here and there, but for the most part, the cars' areas look really good in this game, and all the models of the cars look pretty good as well. Anyway, so Francesco f***ing explodes.
What is happening? There's a bad dream!
Wait. No, sorry. So you save Francesco, and this takes you to the final level with one Finn McMissile, where you are following a convoy. You are supposed to be discreet at first, but there's absolutely zero stealth mechanics in the game, so you just drive along at full speed as normal, until eventually they spot you, stuff happens, stuff explodes, you catch up to and stop Professor Z, and that's it. Again, you just kind of are in the world, stuff just happens around you, you don't have that much control. But what is happening is pretty fun. Of course, when you're playing this on a Kinect, I can imagine it's a bit more interactive because you're having to actually move around. But when you're just sat there with a controller and the game's just kind of happening to you, it's not that exciting. And that took us to the end of the Cars section. All 3 levels are pretty much the same, just with some different set pieces. They all look quite nice, they all function very well, and the handling is pretty good. There's not really much else that can be said about this one. Okay, so next up I moved on to Up, and this isn't quite as exciting as the Cars one, I have to say. There's a bit more variety to it, but it's just very repetitive still. So the first level is called House Chase, and this has you with Russell chasing down Mr. Fredrickson's house. You run after it, platform and jump after it, swing on ropes and climb branches. Eventually you'll reach a section where you have to complete a really simple puzzle to knock down a log to move on to the next part to continue chasing the house. That does involve the AI actually playing ball, because let me tell you, the AI in this game just do not cooperate when you need them to. It's not so bad in the up levels, but later on in the game, oh my god, I was getting so frustrated. Anyway, eventually you catch up to the house, and I have to say, this level was pretty underwhelming. Cool set pieces, nice world design of course, and it looks nice, but controls wise it's just completely ridiculous. Everything feels really clunky, and I don't know man, this wasn't for me. Anyway, so next up we have Free the Birds with Doug, my favourite Disney character. I fucking love that dog so much. Anyway, so this level is literally more of the same of what you've already done, except the rowing. This time you're in the spirit of adventure and you are rescuing Kevin's children. Once again, there's a lot of platforming, hanging on ropes, very simple puzzles, and fairly decent set pieces that all lead to you rescuing the kids and escaping the airship. Again, these levels are just filled with really clunky controls and little glitches that just take you out of the experience a bit. I just feel like a bit more time and a bit more care could have been put into remastering these levels for non-motion controls, and everything would have been so much better. Don't get me wrong, it functions, and if I was like 6 or 7 playing this, I definitely would have had a good time, but for me, I was just like, Anyway, so that led me to the final level of Up, which was Canyon Expedition, which is with Mr. Fredrickson. So again, there's more platforming, more jumping, more sliding, but this time there's also a boss fight with the dog fighters in planes. Once you've played one boss fight in this game, you have played all of them. You dodge a couple of attacks, the character you're with hands you something to throw, you throw it hits the enemy, for the most part the locking on is kind of jank, and then you do that 3 times and then you win. That's it. Once you've done one, as I say, you've done them all. There is a kind of cool section where you also get to fly one of these dog planes, but the controls again, they're just kind of whack. They don't work too well, the handling's a bit off, but it's still pretty fun. So as you complete each world, you'll be congratulated that you've befriended all 3 of the kids that are big fans of each franchise, and you get to take a cool picture with them. How exciting. Anyway, so next up I chose to play the Toy Story levels, and again, it's just more of the same. So some of the actors from Toy Story do return to voice their characters. Timothy Dalton voices Mr. Pricklepants, Joan Cusack voices Jessie, but in a lot of media, Woody is actually voiced by Tom Hanks' brother Jim, and it's the same case here. Anyway, so in toy form you are in fact a toy robot, and the first level is called Daycare Dash, where Bonnie is leaving to go and see her gran, and Mr. Pricklepants accidentally falls out of her bag, and it's your mission along with Woody to get him back to Bonnie. You do this again by completing various sections of platforming, sliding, swinging from ropes, and completing very simple puzzles. To advance to each new section, you just need to find a AA battery to insert into something that will get you over the fence, until eventually you get a kind of cool RC section that pays homage to the films. It's just a shame the RC section doesn't really control that well. Considering they'd already done all the car handling for the Cars section, you'd think this would have gone a little bit better. However, it does then add some variety to what has been a pretty samey experience so far. Once you get through this, you catch up to Bonnie and you're on the back of her car. End of level. Okay, so next up we have Airport Insecurity with Buzz Lightyear. This is very similar to the whole airport sequence in Toy Story 2, except instead of you landing on Bullseye and riding off, you actually have to jump out of the plane and skydive with Buzz. Again, for the most part, it's all very simple platforming, it's all the stuff you've already done, except at the end of it you have a skydive section, and I have to say, it's really bad. It controls like dog shit. When you're going fast, the screen's shaking so much you can't even see what's going on anyway, and the little ending cutscene looks so bad graphically that it really took me out of the game. The backdrop just looks like absolute Anyways, that took us to the final level of the Toy Story section called Dump Escape, which is pretty much how it felt to finish these levels. This one is with Jessie, and again you have a boss at the end, which is the famous Toy Story villain, the Garbage Shredder. Would you believe this level features platforming, sliding, there's actually some gliding this time which breaks it up a bit, which leads you to a ferocious showdown with the garbage compactor. And that's it. The level ends. Jessie is there, she speaks and says some things that aren't really helpful. All the characters in this game like to commentate on what you're doing, but like it's a bit delayed. So someone might say you're sliding after you're already at the bottom of a ramp, or you've already thrown a ball and they'll say, oh, that looks good to throw. And it's just not very helpful at all. Anyway, I have to say the Toy Story section is definitely my least favourite so far. The Toy Story films are great, but they're not my favourite across Disney anyway, so this probably didn't help. So next up I decided to play the Incredibles section, because I thought, okay, this will be like a brawler kind of gameplay. Like Crash of the Titans, something like that. Yes, kind of boring, but at least different from just the same platforming, the same boss fight, and then nothing. Sadly guys, my dreams were soon shattered, because I quickly discovered that this is in fact the same as all the other levels.
Wow, what a twist.
Not really.
Minus the cars one, of course. The first level is called Jungle Rumble, and you are with Violet. Mirage has been kidnapped by a rogue Omnidroid, and you just have to chase her, and of course, rescue her. Now, to chase this Omnidroid, it's very similar to the Mr. Fredricksen house level, where you literally just platform, complete a small puzzle, platform, complete a small puzzle. Then there is a flying section, followed by a kind of skydive section that is at least better than the Toy Story one, and then you have rescued Mirage, and that is the end of Jungle Rumble. The level design here is very nice, the world looks really pretty. Anyway, next we move on to Omnidroid Bash, which is with Dash. This time the game blesses you with even more platforming, even more really unhelpful AI, a few small puzzle sections, a bit where you throw some blocks at some glass. That's kind of it. The base is about to go up in flames, so you have to escape the base with Dash, and every character in the level will consistently remind you that the base is about to explode. And then of course it does, and you and Dash escape in just a nick of time, and you are both completely unharmed. Now that took me to the final level of The Incredibles, which is called Save Metroville, which is with Mr. Incredible. Now this time I really thought, wow, maybe we'll get some button mashing, combo fighting, something a bit different. But no, again, you just slide down some sections, complete some platforming, and your boss fight this time is with an Omnidroid. Frozone does turn up to help you, Mr. Incredible throws you things to throw at the Omnidroid, and that's literally it. You just do that 3 times, eventually you rip one of the Omnidroid's arms off and throw it through the droid, and you win. It looks very cool on paper, the set piece looks pretty cool, but overall it's just a whole bunch of nothing that leads to nothing. By this point my expectations are very low in this game because everything since Cars has just been downhill. I had fairly similar expectations for Ratatouille, but I thought, oh, maybe Finding Dory will be a bit better because at least that was made to go in the remaster specifically.
I'm Francine. Hey, let's play Ratatouille.
No thanks, bro.
Okay, so I thought, well, I may as well just do the final level from the original game first. So last of all, we have Ratatouille. This is a film that I haven't watched in a long time, so I don't really remember that much of what happens. But anyway, our first level is Rooftop Run with Celine. Again, it's all just the same at this point. Platforming, sliding, jumping, small puzzles with a really bad AI, and that's all there really is to it. A rat has been trapped in a jar by the health inspector. For the sake of argument, because I don't remember his name, we'll call him Rizzo the Rat, and you just have to basically follow this rat in a jar until you find someone that can let him out. And then, voila, Rizzo is freed, and that's the level done. Nothing exciting, again. So, next up we have the floodgates with Emile, and this time these sewers are flooding, and you have to assist in getting this boat to safety by, again, a lot of platforming, some sliding, but also now it introduces swimming, which is just really poorly controlled and thankfully only features in this level. There is swimming of course in the Dory levels, but it's completely different in controls. There are again some very simple puzzles, and this was the level where I found the AI the most irritating because Emile would just not compute with anything I wanted him to do. Eventually the boat reaches safety and all the other rats are very pleased that you have saved their food. My god, I'm really running out of steam to talk about the same thing over and over, guys. Anyway, our final level is Stop That Chef, which you are of course with Remy, who is actually voiced by Patton Oswalt from the film. And again, this level is a mixture of platforming and then a boss fight with Chef Skinner. This time he is trying to swat you with a tea towel, I think, and you just throw different food at him until he eventually passes out. And that is the end of the Ratatouille levels. So I'll give Ratatouille credit for that, at least the controls are a little bit better, but still, it's just more of the same garbage. Anyway, so that's all been leading to our final section, which is finding Dory. Now, I finally thought, okay, something different is going to happen this time, and I was right. There was no cutscene with an irritating child to start the first level, and you get a choice of playing as Nemo or Squirt the baby turtle. Now, there are only 2 levels in this game, so I chose to play as Squirt for the first, which is called Coral Reef, and as Nemo for the second, which is in the Marine Life Institute. Now, thankfully, the swimming in these levels is much easier to control compared to that in Ratatouille, because of course you are actually a fish, so you are meant to swim. Swimming literally consists of you holding the right trigger to accelerate your swimming, and using the left stick to navigate, and that's it. And even then, in both of these levels, there's sections where it takes even the accelerating part away from you and all you have to do is steer, because you're in a current. All of this leads up to you escaping the Marine Life Institute in the second level. This is all with Dory, and that's pretty much it. There isn't so much a story to these two, as it is just playing through some cool sections from the Finding Nemo and Dory films. That's kind of it. It looks really nice, all the characters are very well designed of course, the levels are well designed, there's some cool set pieces. It's just considerably shorter than all the other levels just because there's only 2 levels, and both of them only take a couple of minutes. There's no boss fight in this level either, so it really doesn't last that long at all, but to be honest with you, it might actually be for the best because it doesn't overstay its welcome. Anyway, so that takes us to the end of Rush, a Disney Pixar Adventure. Now, this is by no means a bad game, but it's not a good game either. For reference, this game was actually developed by Asobo Studio, the developer behind the WALL-E game, the Ratatouille, and Up, so they did already have a lot of experience with working with these Disney licenses. Critically, this game is currently sat at a 68 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is not bad all things considered, it's just in the average area. I feel like if you're a lot younger, you'll really like this game, but unfortunately the controls are just a bit too janky and there's not enough substance there to keep older players going. If you are a big fan of any of these worlds though, it is cool to check out and get to play in them, but you could also just play the games based on each film rather than this one, but anyway, that's just my opinion. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe and tap the bell for notifications, and as always, I will see you in next week's video. Bye bye.